Hello. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Invitation to a Conversation. I'm Pamela Bailey. Thank you for coming and joining me today. Today is 2 years that I've been serving the community with conversations from political leaders to businesses to organizations to inform the people who are not in the community of what's going on in the community. And today we have Mr. DeWayne Barton from Asheville, North Carolina. He is in the community with an organization called Hoodhuggers. Good morning, Mr. Barton. How you doing? Can you hear me?
Trouble with the internet. Listen, let me talk to you. Go ahead and be Martha James, and I'll
Excuse
be down
me?
in.
Hello? Are you in a good place for reception?
Hello.
We're live.
All right. And you live in my backyard.
Okay.
I got a lot of people.
Are you moving to a better place so we can get better reception?
What it is. It's-
So can we end this and start all over again since we're live?
What is that?
Okay. You think this spot will work?
I'm trying to find the right spot. I never had this problem before, so I don't know. But it's all good now. Let's see where it goes.
Okay. Well, from one vet to another, thank you for your service.
Yes.
What branch of service did you serve in?
I was in the Navy.
All
I was
right.
in the
Thank you. You were about to say something?
Yes, I was in the Navy for about 4 years.
Okay. Thank you for your service. Mr. Barton, you do various things. What was your first career choice?
um, I can't say I really either decided any career choice. I guess it was the military was the official one. I was just wandering around trying to figure out what I would do in life. I wasn't really sure. Even after getting out of the military, I wasn't sure about what I wanted to do. But I decided to go to Norfolk State University to help me decide on what direction I would try to go into.
Okay. And you pursued in college social work. And what did you do with that degree?
Well, I didn't do well. It gave me a lot of background knowledge about something that I thought I wanted to go into, and but what really I connected to while I was in the college was art and the environment. is when I really, doing the different reports and papers, it really turned me on to, it opened me up to some other interests, and that was art and the environment.
Okay. And as we go into this conversation, we'll see how it played out in your nonprofit organization, Hoodhuggers. And you are the author of 2 books of poetry. Can you recite a short poem for me? Do you know it off the top of your head? It is my 2 year celebration of this show.
Um, okay. Um, no excuses. Success and failure walk hand in hand down the road of trying. The goal is never give up. I forgot the rest, but that's the shortest.
Yes. But that's truth. Never give up. You're going to go down the road of success. You're going to have many, many obstacles. You're
Yep.
going to take time. You're going to feel offensive. You're going to feel humiliated. You're going to feel hurt. You're going to feel rejected. But you have to get through all those obstacles to get to where you want to be. And so, your community and youth development over 20 years, what did you do with that?
I mean, when I was growing up in DC, my father was real active in the community, and he used to take me with him around Southwest, Southeast DC, and just do all these things. And it all revolved around young people, from football to boxing and overall community work. So I've been around that and been participating in it for a long time. And I was always drawn to like that who did work in the community. So throughout life, I was either substituting teaching or working in a community center, or always doing some type of work in the neighborhoods. And in fact, my neighborhood was like that. And doing that work and building relationships with elders and different stuff, that's something that at the time I was doing it, I didn't like it, but it was a seed for what I'm doing today. And now I just love it. I can't see myself not doing it.
So when your father started taking you out, he just formed the foundation to what you're doing now, without even realizing you that he was setting you up for a future, an unseen future.
And I didn't like it. I hated it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And visual and performing arts, what do you do with that?
Well, I think I was always creative, but at that time when I was younger, I used to draw. I used to do a lot of creative things, but there was never you say a model or example in my neighborhood that I identified with at that time. So I was used to do a lot of creative stuff. Through high school, I used to be into photography, and then when I went in the military, as my how you say, my therapy, because of some of the experiences I was having in there, I started writing, in particular poetry, in the military. I think that really helped me to kick that off, and it's just been gradual ever since. I went from poetry to African drumming, and then when I went in to Norfolk State, and I was living in Norfolk at the time, I started creating sculpture out of trash, especially when I realized how what we was doing to our waterways, what we was doing to all the debris. And I really said, wow, I really like to go into the environment and use my art as a way to educate people about those things that we're doing wrong, and give them solutions about things we could be doing better to improve the health, not only of ourselves, but the entire planet.
Mm. And how do you show environmental justice through your art and community involvement?
Well, we know that historically, the African American communities are disproportionately affected by environmental conditions, from the coast to the inner cities, through highway expansions and pollution. So it's like, how can you create a visual display that educates the younger people and the people who don't know about those disparities, but then put in there, okay, and this is what we can do about it to try to address it. I mean, doing that for those communities that's historically been marginalized and disenfranchised is a tough job. And because historically we have been ignoring these places, so it's like bring voice and solution at the same time, you know.
And you have many talents and skills, and then you add mixed media.
So that's the part.
And
I mean, we use sculpture, we use music, we use it all. We use it all to connect with people, and because it's important, and now more than ever, we have to change the way we treat each other and the planet, and we have to create a framework that we do it in, and then we need to start practicing. It's not going to be an overnight. Just like the poem "No Excuses." Success and failure walk hand in hand down the road of trying, you know.
yes,
So we just have to start that process.
and you said you draw. You have art that's been shown at Duke University, the Smithsonian Institute Museum of African American History and Culture. It's been shown at the August Wilson Museum. What is the Afrolanche Artist Project? If I pronounce that right, how do you pronounce that?
That's the Appalachia. It's a play on words. It was coined by Frank X. Walker, professor out of Kentucky, and it talks about the African American communities who live in the Appalachian Mountains. A lot of time people think that blacks are not up here in the mountains, and we are. And it's like, how do we bring voice and visual sound to those communities and their dreams and hopes for their future while still living up here in the mountains. And
Mm.
it's 13 states um, that's included in this area. And that particular project was started by Marie Cochran, and she's an artist, and she wanted to get all the artists from this region to create this whole network to where they would share and support each other while promoting the Appalachian region.
And how many African American people live in the Appalachian region?
I couldn't answer that, but it stretches from, is it upstate New York all the way down to Mississippi. So imagine that.
Mm.
But it's a certain area. It's like in the center, not the center of the country, but you look it up. At the Appalachian region, it's 13 states.
And August Wilson Museum, can you explain to me about what is inside his museum? Because the only thing I'm familiar with August Wilson recently is his movie Fences, which I love. So, what kind of materials are inside of that museum?
I mean, it's a multi. It's a multi. It has a dance studio. It has an art gallery. It's like a multifaceted place. And it was in Pittsburgh, and it was part of an art show that I was a part of. And all these artists from all these different that region all came together, and we all brought one to two pieces to the theater, and we had a show. I think the show was up for several months, and it was like just acknowledging the artists. I mean, the artists in that region as a way to promote us throughout the country, because a lot of times in only certain areas you hear about performers and different artists. But in this case, it's a written part that's coming out of Appalachia, but then there's an artistic visual part that's coming out of Appalachia too, that the Appalachian program project is trying to highlight to the world. You know.
Mhm. And you say you are the co-founder of Peace. What is Peace?
No, it was the Peace Gardens, and we changed the name since that time to the Peace Gardens and Market. When I moved back to Asheville, North Carolina in 2001, this neighborhood was pretty drugged out. Crack cocaine had it; it was crushing it. The open air drug market was like a circus here, and it really forced me and others. Well, really, I'm third shift. It forced me to start working with others to try to improve the conditions of the neighborhood, going all the way back to when I was a young person growing up in DC, and using some of the strategies we used there to try to get people to work together and connect, and start to take pride and honor back in their communities again. So when I was growing up, I was always under instruction. I was always under somebody who who was leading, and I was just a gopher. Go get this and go get that, and I used to run and go get it. But not until I moved back to Asheville that I had to take a leadership role in it, and I've been practicing most of my life. So, but it was still some fear in that. So I had to do it. I had to just jump in and start, because it just got so hectic, and it was
Mhm.
got dangerous that it didn't matter if you was not doing nothing or if you was doing something, you could possibly be hurt. So we decided to start going back to the basics by picking up trash. At that time, we also said, okay, let's also create a park, because people weren't coming outside their house. People just, it was like this fear. It was, so we said, well, let's create a park, a green space in the neighborhood. Let's make a garden so we can share food, and let's take the trash that we collect on the street and make sculptures out of them. That will be the design of the park. So that's what we did. Now I started making sculpture out of trash when I was living up in Norfolk, Virginia. I used to use driftwood and everything, jumping in and out of the dumpsters and creating smaller sculptures, because I had a much smaller space, so I couldn't get buck wild. But since moving to Asheville, my family had a piece of land. In fact, my family's been in this neighborhood for over 100 years, and up here in these mountains for over 200 years. So I had more space to grow. So we did it. We started the Peace Gardens back in 2003 as a way to. It was like we used to drive all the way up to DC. That war in Iraq, that in 2003, we was like, nah, we don't think that's right. So we used to drive all the way up to DC and protest, play drums and march, and then we would come back home to Asheville and had to dive on the floor because they shooting right outside the door. Like, you know what? Let's stop going to Washington and protest if we don't know our neighbor down the street. So then that's when we really launched into creating this green space. And now we have about 3 green spaces we maintain in the neighborhood.
And in your gardens market and your green opportunities, what grows in your garden?
All types of vegetables, flowers, anything. We try to create a space that when you come in, you feel better when you leave. You know, so there's a lot of different flowers and a lot of different things that we feel would. Well, some of the stuff is kind of talking about some of this thing, police violence and prison and stuff like that. It's a social and environmental justice space. But yeah, we have all those things that you can eat and flowers that smell good in the space. Now, Green Opportunities is a green jobs training program, which was a nonprofit we started out of the backyard to try to train up some of the young people who was out here, doing the drug things. We said, wow, well, if they feel that's all they have to do, what other opportunity or platform we can create for them? So we decided to create Green Opportunities and then help train them up on how they can to rebuild their neighborhoods through parks, gardens, solar panels, all these type of environmental things that they could do, not only to improve their community, but also provide employment for them and a lifestyle for them.
Do some of these people help you maintain the garden?
Yeah, it was a guy out here this morning ready to go. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Does that garden work all year round or just in the spring and summer?
Now, people come here year round because it's filled with art and all types of information about the environment and social justice issues.
Hmm. The first time I saw trash made out of sculpture, they have a museum down in Philadelphia, downtown Philadelphia, that I seen where they have that. It's very interesting. It's amazing what kind of art and sculptures people make from trash. In 2019, you did what is the Robert Woods Johnson Culture of Health Leader.
Right. Well, uh, that was a program I went into because there's other people like me all over the world and all over the country. So I think that program was designed to bring people together like myself and that we try to create this network of support that will add capacity to the work we're doing in our own communities and create this worldwide or nationwide network to try to improve conditions for the most marginalized or everybody really. And that's what that program was about. It's about, I think it was for about 3 years, and it was designed to help add capacity and boost the work that we all been doing around the country.
Okay. And now we get down to all the things you do is underneath Hoodhuggers International, and you have Hood Tours. What defined you to give the title Hoodhuggers? What does that mean? What's the definition for that?
Well, I got it from tree huggers because I was looking at tree huggers, doing the environmental thing. I said, man, these people go hard. They chain themselves to a tree. They live in a tree to try to protect it. I feel the same way for the hood. I'm trying to
Hmm.
protect it. I'm trying to protect it in any way possible. And I mean, I live in Asheville, North Carolina, and it's booming. Gentrification is real, and a lot of these once all black communities here in the mountains are slowly disappearing. It's like, okay, what do you do about it? So we say, okay, we live in a very popular tourist destination, so let's go into tourism business, and let's highlight what's been lost, and let's talk about what still exists, and then let's take a portion of the resources we get off the tour to invest back into those places, thinking that we will create a mirror and a pattern for other people who have similar concerns for us to work collectively together to protect these spaces. And we started in 2015, and it's doing good.
Hmm. So you just round up into the mission of Hoodhuggers, and you said you're building communication, connecting wealth, using the arts, environmental, and social enterprise. So you keep talking about the African American people that live in the mountains. Um, what is their lifestyle about? Do they, I mean, economically, do they come down for the mountains? That's where they stay, or explain to me and the people that's watching, what is the lifestyle and the culture style of the people that live in the Appalachian Mountains?
I mean, I don't think I think it's no different from anywhere else. It's just we in the mountains, and we got our own way of seeing things, but it's basically the same. For me, I want to try to help preserve that culture. And in order to help preserve it, we got to collectively start learning how to work together to do it. Um, and historically, we had um, that practice in our communities. And I guess Jim Crow segregation helped force that collaboration, that momentum of collaboration. But somehow we need to get to a version of that that allows us to work together, or we individually are just going to be slowly erased. And that's the way I'm seeing it. And the part that's kind of crazy about it is that I see a lot of people like myself and who say they want to do that, but that framework and that accountability towards making it happen is yet to be practiced. So we have to create what we need today by being inspired by the work they did in the past.
Right. A lot of people say they want to be successful and do things, but to actually do the work is the testimony that they have to take, the sacrifices that they have to make to get it done. You just can't say it. It's no one's going to give it to you. You have to do your part. So you were appointed by the governor for the by the president of the Barton Street Community Association. Why were you appointed by the governor?
Well, I want to go back to that thing. When I was saying that, I was talking about the people like myself who's out here trying to make it happen. I don't think we work collectively together
Right.
as much as we should in order to really protect our spaces and our neighborhoods. You know,
Right. Right.
and the people who know. I'm not talking about the people who don't know, who don't want.
Okay.
People who say they out here trying to get it. We have to learn how to get it together and get on the same page, same time, the same day. You know,
Right. Because certain people want to do their own entity and their own individual thing, and they don't want to come together as a team or a group to accomplish the same thing. Is that what you're saying?
straight up. That's exactly what I'm
Okay. All right. And you were appointed by the governor?
saying. Yeah, that's the state arts council. I'm on the state arts council board. I mean, art has been therapy for me, and it helped save my life. I think art saved my life. So I know what it did for me. I know what it did for my community, and I just felt like maybe I should try to get in a position that can influence how art can help communities throughout the state. So I got on the Arts Council board for that reason to try to see how you can scale up. And also for me, I'm a social entrepreneur. So I'm always thinking about, okay, how do we monetize this? How do we monetize it in a way where those resources go back into the communities that need it?
Hmm.
So that's why I want to get on this board.
And what kind of art and what kind of sculpture art do you do? Do you do faces, um, landscaping? What type of sculptures do you do?
It's found objects, like it's like abstract. It's like from nails to tire rims to 40-ounce bottles and crack pipes. Or depends. You know what I mean? It's just all.
Oh,
I use a little bit of everything.
okay. What was the first? Can you remember the first thing that you made into art from trash?
The first thing I made. Wow. I think I don't know if it was the first, but it's close to being the first. It was I had a little nephew who who unfortunately got in trouble and had to serve all this time, and it really tore me up. It almost broke, man. It just got me so angry. So I created a sculpture that talked about this whole prison industrial complex, and it was like I think it was a cinder block through a chain, and a little sculpture of a person that had did the different pieces of a body, and then at the and then it had a little skeleton head or a little some type of head on it that talked about like this generational curse of this prison industrial complex. This one pipeline. Another thing, when that prison industrial complex works within our communities and it becomes part of the culture of the very community, that's when it's deadly. So I think that was the first. I think that was around the first sculpture I ever did.
Yeah, when it's like a norm, like going to work every day or getting up, going to school every day, and it becomes your normal part of life, and it shouldn't become normal at all.
No,
Never,
no,
never.
got to change that right there. That's our
Hmm.
responsibility. Nobody
Yes,
responsibility but ours as the
yes,
people suffering from that. You
yes. Mr. Burton, who inspires you?
know, I think anybody out here trying to get it, who trying to save the planet, trying to work with some kids, everybody out here that's trying to get it for the good of everybody inspires me to keep going. I mean, anybody out here trying to do right inspires me. Yeah.
What is your favorite scripture, phrase, or testimony that keeps you grounded?
I'm love. God is love. It's like all this love work. This is not. This is love work, and but to get into this love work, you gotta love yourself. So being able to find yourself and love yourself and value yourself, and then being able to value because you've been proud of yourself. Y'all two valuing each other. Y'all go value and love the earth. That's yeah.
And what advice or wisdom would you give us for people who, what advice or wisdom do you have to give for people to do what you're doing in your community, to do it across the states? I know people are doing it, but they're doing it in different versions of their idea of how to save, create green space and how to save communities. What advice would you give or wisdom would you give to get people started to participate or to keep on going if they're already out there doing it and it's not going as fast as they think it should go?
Well, we created a book that describes that specifically with experience and graphs and charts to try to do that very thing. In fact, everything we doing now, we doing it in a way so we can be replicated like McDonald's all over the world. Because I feel like in order for this to work, we have to come in. We got to show people a framework. In fact, we looking at this like sports. You know what I mean? You know, you can go anywhere in the world and people know how to play basketball, soccer. The rules don't change. It's the same. The accountability is the same no matter where you would go. The rules are the same. I think we got to do this. We got to create the same system like we create for these, like sports, for how to build community and organize ourselves to collectively save the planet.
All right. And there you have it. Invitation to a conversation community. We have today's conversation with Mr. DeWayne Barton with Hoodhuggers, hugging the community to keep people together and give them a green space to be safe in the environment while they're enjoying life. And as I close out, my sentiments to you this week is you learn from your mistakes, but more than from your success. And I'll see you the next time and continue to have a blessed week. Thank you.